Eyes and Draft Out Chicago and our other shows and interviews. As always, check out the heartlandsignal.com platform, guys, because there's lots of great stuff there. And today, of course, on Joan's show, Live, Local, and Progressive, she'll be joined by Eric Zorn and Indiana University political science professor Marjorie Hershey. Live, Local, and Progressive, weekdays 2 to 5 p.m. on WCPT, Chicago's progressive talk for 20 years, folks. And then tonight, as we say, driving it home with Patty, we'll be talking with Sarah Garza-Resnick, CEO of Personal Pack, PAC. That's Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez, 5 to 7 p.m. today on WCPT, Heartland Signal website, TuneIn, YouTube, and Facebook. Tomorrow on the show, we'll have our good friend Karen Byrne from True Blue Politics podcast, along with author and historian Michelle Duster. You guys will want to tune in for that. Make sure you're making your way over there, and we will talk more about some of the cool stuff that's happening at our website. So don't forget, you can listen, you can rate and share Choose Views full episodes, featured interviews and podcasts. They're both available, as I said, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and Amazon. Search for Choose Views or get the links on my show page by visiting theheartlandsignal.com. And clicking on my picture. You can click on my ear so that you make sure that I'm listening. I don't know if that really would have any impact, but there you go. Today on our show, we will have with us in the 6:30 hour, so we'll be moving fast today. Cliff Cash, comedian and political activist, will be with us this morning. And looking forward to talking with Cliff to bring us up on some things. His recent trip in March and so forth to Washington. He was very busy. And in the 7 o'clock hour, we are so honored to have Gay Valimont, who is a candidate for U.S. House Florida District 1, will be with us this morning in the 7 o'clock hour. And then Dan Summins, who is the managing director of Blessings in a Backpack, will be with us with a special guest as well in the 7:30 hour. So definitely looking forward to having our guests on as always, and always having you guys with us this morning. We've got some clips that we're going to hit you with back to back to back. So Henry's been busy getting things ready. After we come back from the break, we're going to hit you with some ones that you guys need to hear. We don't want you to have to wait. But for now, Henry is signaling me that it's time to make our way over to Choose Views News on this March 27th, 2025. Because more than half of chief financial officers surveyed by CNBC in a quarterly poll are expecting a recession in the second half of this year. This is where I get upset with some of the other folks, some of the people that have still continued to go after Vice President Harris. They said she didn't talk to us enough. She didn't say this. She didn't do that. Forgetting about all these things that they want to point at her as what she didn't do well in 107 days. I remember distinctly her saying, whether she gave a master class, I mean, she couldn't win. She was either too detailed about something or she didn't cover something well enough. But I know for a fact that woman said that next Christmas of 2025 could be a hellscape because of tariffs. I remember that. It gets me somewhat choked up that people would still want to say she didn't do enough. Second half of this year, economists, financial officers, I should say, CFOs, are saying in the second half of this year, we could see a recession. The proportion that has risen from just 7% at the end of last year. That's crazy. But not too many of y'all she didn't say it just enough. God, it makes me sick. It really does. The culprit for this sea change is the whipsaw trade policy and the related risk of resurgent inflation and dented consumer demand. The threat of tariffs and exemption deals has also left most CFOs, 95% surveyed, unable to predict which industry now has the greatest growth prospects. I am majorly emotionally passionate, upset about that, Henry. Because we heard from so many voters, particularly MAGA voters, we don't really care because it's not going to hurt us. Okay, watch, like she said, what Christmas is going to be like. These are people who are smart in this space, guys. I know I'm getting off a little bit of my normal cadence with True's Views News, but this is what she said was going to happen. But now, too many of y'all were like, well, she didn't say it to the union boys. And, you know, medical research cuts up in careers. Healthcare researchers and scientists are reeling from funding cuts of the National Institutes of Health, which have derailed years of work and upended careers. The research sector has seen thousands of layoffs and widespread hiring freezes, according to published reports. Graduate departments have also limited the size of their programs after the Trump turmoil administration, terminated billions of dollars in grants, even as a decision is currently being litigated in court. Programs facing cutbacks have ranged from research on cancer to vaccines to the COVID-19 virus. Last time I checked, Henry, cancer did not have a political party or an economic status. Amazon is moving to a slightly better bit, I guess. Amazon snags LeBron's podcast. LeBron James basketball podcast, Mind the Game, is coming to Amazon-owned podcast network Wondery. The show, which previously paired the NBA great with his future Los Angeles Lakers coach, J.J. Redick, will now feature former Laker Steve Nash alongside LeBron James. Amazon's move comes as a company looks to aggressively expand its sports programming and its basketball programming in particular, having signed an 11-year deal to stream NBA and WNBA games last summer. I'm glad they're including the women in that as well. Mortgage demand is climbing. Mortgage applications rose 1% last week from the prior week, and they were up 7% from a year ago, according to the Mortgage Bankers Association. The modest gain following weeks of decline pushed demand to its highest level in nearly 2 months. The latest data suggests home buyers may be returning to the market despite strong spring headwinds. Meanwhile, sales of new homes rose 1.8% in February, thanks to improved weather and attractive sales incentives, but not because of the dude in the White House. This recession piece really does kind of burn my biscuit because so many people, even some of those who are on the left that are progressive commentators, and just progressive voices, still slip into this. The Dems could have done this. And well, let me be more specific. Vice President Harris's campaign was blah, 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 blah. But one of the things that I hear too often is she didn't talk to the middle class, working class people. Well, she talked to everybody. She tried to talk to everybody. So, you know, the fact that, and this is the thing, President Biden did too. And now CFOs, the people who have not only education, but experiential knowledge about how our economy and recessionary times are affected by items like tariffs, the whipsaw, as they refer to it, trade policy. But too many people were too damn proud, Henry, or arrogant, or willfully ignorant and privileged. They needed her to come to their front door, and if she gave them a master class in why, then that was too complicated. That was too elite. That was too smart. And then if she broke it down and made it uber simple, then she's what's the word? She's oversimplifying it. What do you think? We're stupid? We don't get it? This is that moment where you can vote against something, where it doesn't always have to be voting for. It can be both. And y'all screwed that up because you wanted it to be spoon-fed when it was right in front of you. And she said, Christmas could be harmful. This next Christmas could be really a painful Christmas for families who are trying to buy gifts for their children. How much more do you need to hear, America, than that simple words like that, straightforward words? So I'm going to dial it back because I'm trying not to cuss this morning because I don't want Henry to throw his shoulder out hitting the button. We're going to take a quick break. We come back. We're going to bring you some other heat from other people other than just me. The number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
It's Choose View with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Hey, progressives, welcome back to Choose Views. Well, I don't just have to say it myself. You can hear the frustration in my voice about how people just couldn't get themselves, off the sofa or vote against something. And now look where you are. We got an administration that's trying to cover up something already. Okay, so we got 3 clips that we're going to get in before we have our guest on. And the first one is one that I think you guys will definitely appreciate. This is a name I'm adding to the list of folks that bring the fire and bring the heat. It's Representative Melanie Stansbury from the great state of New Mexico.
I think insanity is a good word for what's happening here on the House floor today. Another good word is bizarre. When I go home and I tell my constituents what happens in these halls, they're amazed. And today is one of those days where I'm like, what the hell are these folks doing? Because while our economy is in crisis, while groceries and housing are at an all-time high, while our veterans and our firefighters and our teachers are being illegally fired, while Elon Musk is dismantling the U.S. Department of Education, and while the Secretary of Defense is trying to cover up the most incompetent national security leak I have ever heard of in my life, the Republicans in the House are trying to save the American people from the scourge of walk-in cooler and refrigeration efficiency standards. That's right. We are here wasting precious debate time on the U.S. House of Representatives floor, debating, dismantling efficiency standards for walk-in refrigerators. How out of touch are you with the American people? Like, literally, I know you're not holding town halls and meeting with your constituents anymore, but you think that the American people voted for you to waste our time on refrigeration standards? That's what you think you were elected to do? Literally, how out of touch are you? Because no American voted. No American, I don't care where you are on the ideological spectrum, you did not vote for this. This is ridiculous, it's preposterous, and it's just stupid.
Henry said to me, Richard, when I saw the clip you sent to me, he said, I had to press pause. He didn't say watch it a second time, but he said I had to slow my universe down and grasp the magnitude of what she was saying. But yet, there are people that said that Vice President Harris didn't talk to them well enough. Meanwhile, we've got Republicans doing exactly what Representative Melanie Stansbury said. So that's someone else to put on your list of representatives that are bringing fire, bringing heat. So we can criticize our representatives all we want to, but we have to also support them and help to be their megaphone with what they're saying. And she brought the heat there. And not only did she bring the heat with passion and energy, she was factually spot on. Cover up. That's what they need to start. The Dems, I want them to, that's the word we want to start using. to offset the witch hunt garbage from Donald Trump. No, it's a damn cover-up, you fool. And I can tell you that Representative Stansberry was ready to cuss. You could feel it, Henry, right? She was ready to cuss. And kudos to her for bringing it on the floor. Now, next is a press conference, but we're gonna give her flowers in that space. We have a couple more that we're going to play for you right now. The second one that we have, and the word that she talked about, the phrase she uses, out of touch. Critically important. Henry is nodding profusely. Out of touch. Refrigerator walk-in refrigerator. Okay. All right. Representative Jason Crow wasn't having it with Tulsi Gabbard. And he made it clear that I know what I'm talking about because I served as well. And I know that this is garbage. So Henry and I put together another clip for you today from the hearing yesterday. Hopefully the audio is okay. Representative Jason Crow.
The DOD's classification standards, I want to now turn my attention to your classification standards. You're the Director of National Intelligence. The Office of the Director of National Intelligence classification guide says, quote, information providing indication or advance warning that the U.S. or its allies are preparing for an attack, end quote, is to be classified as top secret. Are you familiar with that?
Yes.
Director Gabbard, have the Houthis indicated an ability to shoot down American aircraft?
Yes.
They have in fact done so, haven't they?
Yes.
Including MQ-9 Reapers, haven't they?
That's correct.
And that was one of the systems used in the attack recently that's the subject of this discussion. Is it not?
Correct.
General Cruz, are you familiar with this system?
Well, I'm not wearing my glasses at the moment, but...
Well, I'll help you out. This is an SA-3 anti-aircraft system.
Correct.
Are you familiar with this next system?
I am.
What is it?
I'm going to have to ask you.
It's an SA-6.
I'm going to guess that...
This is also an advanced anti-aircraft system, is it not?
It is. It was used widely in the Balkans in the 90s, correct?
And the Houthis also have this system, don't they?
They certainly do.
And they've employed it against our aircraft, have they not?
They've attempted to, correct.
I spent my life in service to this country. I deployed 3 times to combat in service to this nation. I learned in that time in service that responsibility is core to leadership. You accept responsibility when things go wrong. You admit mistakes. You set the standard from the very top. It is completely outrageous to me that administration officials come before us today with impunity. No acceptance of responsibility. Excuse after excuse after excuse, but we send our men and women downrange to do incredibly difficult, incredibly dangerous things on our behalf. And yet, nobody is willing to come to us and say this was wrong. This was a breach of security and we won't do it again. It is outrageous and it is a leadership failure, and that's why Secretary Hegseth, who undoubtedly transmitted classified, sensitive operational information via this chain, must resign immediately. There can be no fixes, there can be no corrections until there is accountability, and I'm calling on the administration to move forward with accountability. I yield back.
Number 2, that's a second representative that's just bringing the heat right now. We have to have more of that. So, as a couple of our guests have said earlier in the week, make the phone calls. Get involved. Let our representatives know we need more of that. Can we get in the third one, Henry? All right, we've got one more, and then I'll chat a little bit before we go to break. We've got Representative Kazar talking about just the insanity of this woman known as Marjorie Greene, and she got caught with her stupidity on the table once again. Let's go to the clip, Henry.
To defund NPR, PBS, and public broadcasting for Project 2025. Can you answer a few questions for me? How many millions of dollars a month do taxpayers spend for Daniel Tiger to play golf?
I have no idea who.
The answer is none.
Okay.
To your knowledge, has Miss Piggy ever been caught trying to funnel billions of dollars in government contracts to herself and to her companies?
That's a silly question.
The answer is no. How about Arthur the Aardvark? Has he ever fired independent government watchdogs who are investigating his companies? The answer is no. Madam Chair, I'm told we're here to talk about government efficiency, but Daniel Tiger has not blown $10 million of taxpayer money to play golf with his friends, but Donald Trump has, just at the beginning of his administration. Miss Piggy hasn't been caught funneling billions of dollars in government contracts to herself, but Elon Musk has. And Arthur has not fired independent government watchdogs investigating him and his companies, but Elon Musk has fired at least 5. So once again, my Republican colleagues are dragging in a scapegoat, this time PBS and NPR, to try to distract from the fact that Trump and Musk are robbing working people. It's Sesame Street that's making things expensive. It's Mr. Rogers that's blowing taxpayer money. It's listeners like you. It's absurd. The total funding for public broadcasting is just 1/6 the amount that Elon Musk's companies make off of the government every single year. But you will not see Elon Musk being grilled by this committee. I've seen a lot, but pointing the finger at Elmo to cover for Elon Musk might be a new low for Miss Marjorie Taylor Greene's committee. I don't think Americans are buying it.
So the clip goes on, or the congressman goes on. I'll give you their names: Representative Kazar, Representative Jason Crow, and Representative Melanie Stansberry. Give them some shout out, give them some love, and let them know to keep bringing the heat. Call their offices, email them, whatever you have to do. Just let them know wherever you are in the country, the best way you can to keep bringing that kind of heat. It has to be brought, and frankly, it should be followed up with some press conferences. But I'm glad we were able to bring those to you guys this morning. I wanted to talk a little bit less and let you just hear that our folks they're fighting. Maybe not as hard as we want or when we want, but they are fighting. And now we have to push them hard. We have to push them to fight as even harder. And the humor, if you can find some of it, I'm not going to use humor. I'm going to tie something together before we go to break. Both Representative Kazar and Representative Stansberry said something that was similar about out of touch and what the American people are really concerned about. It's not Elmo. It's not the folks at Sesame Street, and it's not whatever small imperfections Sesame Street or NPR may have. It's not people. It's not the refrigeration aspects of walk-in refrigerators. That's not what folks are concerned about. Where does that $10 million go? Why did Trump spend, was it 15 to go to the Super Bowl and then another to go to NASCAR? That's what people should be concerned about, and that's the underbelly of what Representative Stansberry and Kazar were talking about. That's what the American people, they want to know why. Literally, why is that money okay to spend or to waste? But we got to go after Sesame Street, and we want to go after refrigeration. Wasteful time, wasteful energy, and that's not what the people voted for. So those 3 representatives nailed it today, and I am thumbs up for them for what they're saying and what they're doing. And then most definitely the hearing and how Representative Jason Crow, who served in battle, made it clear to Gabbard that she doesn't know what the hell she's doing, and the rest of them don't either. All right, guys, quick break, 773-763-9278. When we come back, we're speaking with our good friend, comedian and activist Cliff Cash. We'll be right back. Hey, progressives, this is Richard Chew, host of Chew's Views here on WCPT AM 820, 6 to 8 a.m. Monday through Friday. We have some real challenges in front of us as a country. Since the beginning of this show, I have always felt compelled to bring you the best that I've got. Now, there's always a why to doing whatever we do. So, as we go forward and face these challenges, know this: you listeners are my why. because I want to make sure I do everything I can to provide a safe, open, forward-moving space that allows you to call, email, text, or just listen to a guy that wants to help you bring out your own championship qualities to truly make this place better for us all. Lofty goal, idealistic, maybe so. But that's my why, and I look forward to bringing you the best that I've got. This is Richard Chu. Stay tuned.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see a few spotty rain showers here early today. Otherwise, partial sunshine develops with a high in the mid-50s. Southwest winds around 5 to 10 miles per hour, gusting as high as 20. Tonight, a chance for some showers and thunderstorms here late. Cloudy, a low near 48. Friday, a chance for showers and storms early. Skies become mostly sunny, a high around 78 degrees. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 45.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
It's Chu's View with Richard Chu on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey, Progressives, welcome back to Choose Views, 773-763-9278. Tickets are sold out now for our May 3rd anniversary broadcast at Max and Benny's Restaurant in Northbrook. But we hope you'll tune in that day to hear Hal Sparks, Scott Duff, Joan Esposito, Patty Vasquez, and I will be broadcasting live from 11 until 3 with some special guests. And be sure to visit theheartlandsignal.com/anniversary to see the archival audio and images we've been adding to the page going back to 2005. And be sure, of course, to visit theheartlandsignal.com/anniversary to check out the sound gallery that we posted. It includes Dick Kay's conversations, I should say, with J.B. Pritzker and Lori Lightfoot, former Sunday morning host Brandon Johnson's conversations, of course, now mayor, and Tony Preckwinkle, Stacey Davis Gates. They were on episodes of Choose Views, Driving It Home, and Live Local and Progressive, a selection of WCPT's Pride Parade broadcasts, our 2023 mayoral debate, our 2024 DNC coverage, and much more. So there's lots of stuff there for you guys to be able to rewatch and share with those who need to see and hear. We're going to have laughs now as I hit you guys with some hard stuff, but good stuff from three of our very vocal Congress folks. With us this morning is stand-up comedian and activist and dude that's healing his voice right now, and that would be none other than Cliff Cash. Good morning, Cliff, and welcome to Choose Views.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. I don't know if you heard the clip from Representative Melanie Stansbury from New Mexico, but that one got me a little emotional because she spoke about many of the things that you spoke about when you were in Washington week before last. And when I saw the clip, I thought, great, it'll be a good lead in to Cliff being on the show this morning. So I'm doing great, and I'm so proud and thankful to have you with us this morning.
Thankful for you having me. Yeah, my voice is kind of, by midday it sounds normal, but in the morning it still sounds like this.
That's okay. That's okay. Well, listen, man, I know that 2 weeks ago you were in Washington, D.C., and you had such a wonderful, I'll say wonderful in the sense that the work that you did and the people that were there with you to speak about, all that's happening. And you were in a couple different locations and you had a couple different platforms and some of the things that happened you can't repeat necessarily on the air, but man, oh man, the hecklers that here's what people have to remember. When a comedian is standing on a platform or on an elevated whatever, a car or a van, and Henry, they have a megaphone, the last thing on the planet you want to do is try to throw some shade at that comedian because it will not end up well for you and your ego. And all I'm going to say to you guys is you have to Google Cliff Cash, and maybe, Cliff, you can send them directly to this clip. You know which one I'm talking about, where the guy decided he was going to try to throw some shade at you, and you turned around. Cliff, now, guy, here's the visual. Let me set this up. In the backdrop is the Washington Mall. And there's Cliff with all of his folks, and he's speaking and rallying and bringing the message. And this guy, this lone guy, and I think there were two people with him, decided that they were going to try to out-yell Cliff and make some nasty comments about him. Well, Cliff, being well-informed and well-read on these issues and topics, and also a brilliant comedian, was in his space. And he turned to the guy, megaphone in hand, and laid him out verbally. And it was beautiful, man. All I can tell you is that had to make you feel pretty good.
You know what that guy didn't realize is that I had been praying every moment of every day that he would come and do that. But he thought I'm going to teach this guy a lesson, but he didn't know that I was hoping that he would come.
Yeah.
I would love for people to see it. I'm at Cliff Cash Comedy on all social media platforms. I think it's probably on all my platforms. It's when I'm standing on top of the truck. You can't miss it. There's a couple different videos. It was actually part of like a 20-minute speech in front of the Heritage Foundation. And as much as I love that funny moment, I would love it if folks would listen to the whole speech, because Heritage Foundation are the architects of everything you hate.
Yeah.
Everything that's going on right now, veterans losing their benefits, your parents or grandparents are about to lose their Social Security, and I do believe that is what's going to happen. All of that is the Heritage Foundation. And if you don't know the Heritage Foundation, it is a group of youth group nerd incels forcing their religion on us that they don't even follow. That's what it is. But it's more than that, because Russia is behind it, like Russia is behind all the things we hate. Russia has been writing policy for Heritage Foundation through Hungary, and Heritage Foundation does not even hide that anymore. They're pretty open about the fact that Viktor Orban from Hungary is a big influence in their organization. And he's a dictator. He's an autocrat. So these people are just out in the open saying, we're sponsored by a dictator in Hungary who is a Manchurian candidate for Putin.
Yep.
And, what people don't realize also is you can't go knock on the White House front door. You can't go knock on Elon Musk's door. The Heritage Foundation, however, wide open. It's out in the open, and you can go knock on the door, and please do. Please go knock on the door. They deserve to be protested every day.
One of the things that Cliff is saying, in terms of, if you guys know, Washington, D.C., you understand just the whole security piece of this and all that is, yeah, they're an organization where, they're right there. You can go right to their sidewalk and, and let them know you're there. And you should let them know. But I want to come back to something that Cliff said that a lot of people don't know. And we talked about this last spring, myself and one of our team members, if you want to call her that, Karen Byrne from True Blue Politics Podcast. She's got a great podcast and contributes to our show. We pretty much every Friday for all of the spring through the summer and up to the election talked about Project 2025. We tried to take pieces of it, break it down. And there are a lot of people in the country, Cliff, and you probably are fully aware of this, that weren't even aware of Project 2025 on a national broadcast level until actress Taraji P. Henson at the BET Awards took a minute and a half to break it down and what it was going to mean to the country. And then all of a sudden, like the national media went, oh, snap, we've dropped the ball here and we haven't been really talking about this. And then suddenly they wanted to look like, and I'm talking all, the three major outlets, and then the networks kind of went, oh, whoa, wait a minute. But behind the scenes of all this is exactly what you said, which is what a lot of people don't know. And now Heritage doesn't give a darn. They don't care. They are proudly saying, yeah, we're getting assistance from two countries that have dictatorial leadership, and we don't really care what you think about it because we're a bunch of, as you said, incel-esque, hypocritical Christian nationalist white dudes. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, and people that want to force their religion on you, but then they go to the RNC and they shut down the Grindr app because they're all spending their sin time together at night when they're not praising the Lord during the day.
Don Lemon talked about that, and he said that one of the most obvious but underreported things during the RNC last summer were the number of RNC members that they were able to track and find that were on Grindr. So talk about hypocrisy in the space of sex. There you go.
I heard some of them were discussing war plans on Grindr.
Were they using the Signal app?
Yeah.
What? Talk about, all right, let's go there. Let's talk about that for a minute, Cliff, in terms of this whole, and I like what Representative Stansbury said. She called it as it is, a cover-up. But before even the cover-up, let's just talk about what you see as it relates to the incompetency that we have with these folks that are so-called in these leadership positions.
Well, I think this is really important, so I hope people will really take it to heart. It seems incompetent, and it is. These people are inherently incompetent because they're unqualified. Pete Hegseth is about 1/20th as qualified as his predecessor.
Yep.
But what I want to say is what seems like incompetence and chaos and disorganization from this scenario to Doge, I want people to shift their paradigm and realize it doesn't matter to them if it's chaotic or unorganized or incompetent, because every one of these appointees and every decision they're making, the entire goal of President Putin and Vice President Donald Trump is to dismantle and destabilize every facet of the American governmental system and of American society. So that's why there is a Russian asset at the head of national intelligence. That's why there's a drunk as Secretary of Defense. That's why there's a former heroin addict with a brain worm whose voice sounds like mine as the head of DHS. And the goal is to destabilize the economy, destabilize the currency, destabilize law enforcement and military intelligence. Because a destabilized country, the first goal, by the way, was divide us. They did that expertly well. So that's already done. The next step is destabilizing all these facets of our government and society. And once that's done, we're easier to topple. And now they were about to, and we caught them, luckily, they were about to include Elon Musk in discussions of military plans in the case that China would attack us. They were about to discuss that with Elon Musk, who's already taken direct orders from China in regards to Starlink in Taiwan. His biggest plant is in China. It was built in large part with Chinese money and grants and help from the Chinese government. So they're going to share this information with a guy who is very much beholden to China. If he's beholden to any country financially, it's China. It's also South Africa, and it's also Russia. But this guy has deep ties to China, and he's not elected, and he doesn't have security clearance. In fact, he can't get security clearance even for his rocket company because of all of his contacts with Putin that he won't disclose or discuss, and his drug use. He can't get top secret security clearance. He hasn't been able to. So even the idea that they would discuss these military plans in relation to China with this guy, that alone is treason. It's treason. Stop calling it anything else. It's treason, and they all need to be removed. Not just Trump, all of them. All of the Russian assets need to be removed from our government.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I had in my notes. All the cabinet security team has to go. And this and this is not, I don't think it's going to happen, but it needs to happen, is the questions that are coming to Caroline Leavitt need to be harder and more forceful and with better follow-up. That's probably not going to happen because she is, I don't say this lightly or disrespectfully, but she is performing and acting like the epitome of the B word And I won't say that word, but you all know what I'm talking about. And as a result of all of these so-called security leaders, Cliff is right. We have been compromised by people who are Russian assets. And let's stop playing pity-pat with that, in case you guys don't know what that is. Let's stop, footsies under the table with that. We have been compromised in that space. And I'm tired of folks talking about how the Democratic Party didn't talk to the middle class, working class Americans enough during this last election cycle. Yes, they did. What you all did, what too many people didn't pay attention to, is what they were also saying is that this would happen. And nobody wanted to believe it because they wanted to live in their little cloud of America's wonderful and perfect, and we never do anything wrong, and everything that we do is always perfect and right. No, you got compromised. And now, as I've said so many years, Cliff, we've been saying this on, and I've been saying this on and on. There are monsters in the closet. No, Richard, there's no monsters in the closet. There's monsters underneath the bed. No, Richard, there's no monsters under the bed. Now they're in bed and they've taken the sheets on a cold night. And that's where we are. I mean, it's just where we are.
Absolutely.
And too many people.
And
go ahead. I'm sorry. You go.
I was just going to say that's one of the reasons that I'm pushing so hard on these media protests. So we protested in D.C. We went to CNN. We went to Fox, NBC, and CNN. And we had a massive crowd. I don't know if you've seen the videos of that.
Oh, yeah.
But the crowd was incredible. And we took noisemakers, and we stood outside their building with air horns and megaphones and whistles and drums and horns and car horns, screaming at them, stop ignoring us. And they still ignored us, even though we were outside of their main offices where they could look out the blinds and see us. And this is the first blow of fascism. If fascism was a disease, the first undeniable symptom would be the chilling of the media. We're having these nationwide protests in every state capital around this country multiple times now. Tesla dealerships, national parks, all of it. Most of the media is failing to report on that. The only thing that's getting reported on is burning Teslas. And then they wonder why people do things like that.
Right.
It's like, well, when you don't allow people to be heard, they will make sure they are seen. And desperate people do desperate things. So if you don't want those types of things to happen, allow some equity to happen in the media, and those things will likely not happen. But I'm pushing hard for these media protests because I believe, not to try and sound like an anarchist, but I believe that the media needs to be more scared of us than they are of Donald Trump. Because Donald Trump's not going to send 10,000 people to where they work. I will send 10,000 people to where you work. And I don't mean anybody any harm, and I wish everyone well. But we are not going to allow them to ignore us. The revolution will be televised, and I'm going to make sure it is.
Yep, we have to fight differently now. And if that means sending 10,000 people to a media outlet that's not doing their job, then doggone it, we need to do it. There are some sermons and speeches that Minister Louis Farrakhan, who may be a controversial name for a lot of people, but many times the minister says, you got to basically, you got to send energy, and I'm paraphrasing, you have to send energy and vigilance and fire to fire. You can't sometimes you can't just send water. You've got to send something a little bit more intense. And I'm paraphrasing what the minister said, but I'm speaking also to what Cliff just said about sending 10,000 people, or if not more, because the media has not done its job with regard to national politics since Barack Obama was elected president. We can go back further, but in terms of recent times, it hasn't been doing, and it's gotten worse and worse and worse. And to Cliff's point, they until they are made more fearful of us than they are of Trump and his administration, we have a problem. I got to ask you a question, Cliff. To something you said, and I made a note. I hear this people saying, well, there's got to be something that Trump has on, the Republicans who aren't speaking up and blah, blah, blah. And we could even throw into this conversation now the media. Do you think, or what are your thoughts about that? Do you think he actually has info or intel or compromise on other members of Congress, particularly those on the right, and members of the media?
I think it's more likely that he has compromise on people in politics, but I think people are just spineless cowards. I think that a lot of these reporters are actually good people who have some journalistic integrity and would like to be attacking all of these issues, but they're run by, they're owned by a hedge fund or a billionaire, like Jeff Bezos. Just basically said, hey, we're not going to say anything bad about Donald Trump in any of our reporting. It's just a joke. And so I think that Donald Trump is probably pretty good at pulling these people into his miniature golf castle in Florida and saying, if you don't do this, this, and this, I will send the DOJ after you. I'll send the IRS after you. I'll send the FBI after you. I will over-regulate your business. I will audit your finances. And people just crumble. And that's the worst possible thing they could do, because if one person crumbles, others will likely follow. Whereas if they all stood up, no one could be compromised.
If they all stood up. And it's like if they all were to say, this is what Donald Trump has tried to do to us, imagine the power they would overnight, in the blink of an eye, have if they were to say collectively, let's just say 10 media people or 10 members of Congress said, this is what Donald Trump said he would do if we spoke the truth. And then suddenly what that then turns into is millions of people who they either broadcast to or that are in their, thousands of people that are in their representative districts that would go, wait a minute. Now that that's out there, we got to do something about it. And this goes back to your 10,000 folks to show up at a particular place where they can show up and protest. It's totally incredibly imperative that America, people have got to wake up to the fact that it's not the shiny object. Here's an example. Let's just try this out, Cliff. I keep asking myself this question. Where in the hell is the administration right now with the fires that are going on? They're not saying a doggone thing about that. Nothing. Nobody's talking about it. And the media is not even really talking about it because of the distractions, to your point, of the other things that are happening. Meanwhile, people are still struggling with these fires and struggling with trying to get their homes back in order. But the administration isn't doing a doggone thing about that. And America's distracted by the shiny object. Meanwhile, they're getting their bank accounts and their Social Security accounts and everything else robbed blindly. And so it does require that Americans as citizenry, to your point, dig in a little bit deeper and fight a little bit harder and not be so doggone distracted.
Yeah, and I think a lot of Americans are still sitting at home watching American Idol or watching football or whatever it is, and just it'll work out. It's just politics, and it's not just politics. This is the toppling and dismantling of American democracy. This is the takedown of the oldest democracy on earth. And I like to compare it, is a little bit dark and heavy, but I like to compare it to the Uvalde shooting that happened in Texas. Every American was furious that those law enforcement officers stood outside that building for over an hour and did nothing. 160-something people with guns stood outside that building and let this guy kill 19 people, most of them children, little children. Everybody was furious at them, and I was too.
Yeah.
Because we want people to be brave. But here's what every American needs to know. If you aren't doing anything right now, if there's not a sign in your yard and a post on your page and a scream in your voice, if you're not marching, if you're not boycotting, if you're not striking, if you're not doing everything you can to fight against these people, then you are those people standing outside the building doing nothing. And I refuse to stand outside the building and do nothing. I will fight them until they physically stop me. This again, the oldest democracy on planet Earth, and if we're not going to fight them, then we deserve whatever happens. The American people need to find your spines. You need to show up. with me, with other protests, you need to show up. You got to use your voice. You got to speak up. Fascists feed on fear, and it's time to starve them.
Yep. Cliff, all I can tell you is I am shoulder to shoulder with you in this fight, and it's not an accident that we were brought together, and I'm here for you 24/7, 365, because I know you mean it when you say that you're going to fight until they physically stop you. I'm of that same ilk. Your parents and my parents must have known each other way back when, but I'm telling you, brother, I am in this fight with you. I am not going to allow our ancestors, yours and mine, fought too doggone hard to get us to a place where we could be able to hold our heads high and move forward. And so I appreciate what you do so much because of the fact that you are one of those people that's on the front line and fighting this fight literally daily. And also having a pretty good time when a heckler decides he's going to try to trash talk you when you're standing on top of a car and you got the megaphone. I just think everybody on the planet should go and find clips everywhere on social media and find that clip, and it'll make you laugh today. So, Cliff, no man.
Yeah, please.
Thank you for being with us. I can't wait to have you back in a few weeks. Take care of your voice, take care of your safety, take care of your spirit, and know that we have you in a good place in our hearts, and we're supporting you for all the work that you're doing.
We have protests this Sunday in New York City, Washington, D.C., Atlanta, and Boca Raton. Those are the offices of Newsmax, CNN, Fox, and others. And we need big numbers in those places. You can find more information at wearetheflood.net.
Perfect. Send that to me. We'll probably recapture this clip on our show page and make sure that we've got it broadcast out all over the country. So thanks so much, Cliff, for being with us, and we will talk soon, okay?
Thank you, sir. Talk to you soon. Appreciate you.
You too, man. Be well. Be safe. That's what I call taking a deep breath and making your life count. Cliff Cash is the epitome of sleeves rolled up, elbows deep in this fight. And I'm not taking anything away from him. There's nothing special about him, extraordinary about him. He's just doing extraordinary work. That's the difference. And so let me say this as respectfully as I can. You heard him say it. I've been saying it in my way for months now, that we can criticize our leaders as much as we want to, and we should, and we need to compliment them when they do well, and not but. And listen, we all have things going on in our lives. We have family, have children, I get that. I truly get that. So please, nobody get your feathers ruffled with what I'm about to say. But doggone it, carve out some time in your day or your week, every single week. If you truly care about those children and that family, and I know you do, so don't be upset with me for positioning it that way. But since you do, rather than if you do, since you do, then doggone it, find some time every week to make sure that your voice is heard. We don't have the luxury of letting these fools, these craven fools, who are in association with foreign entities, to take away what our ancestors have all fought for to make sure that we have. You should be embarrassed if you're not finding some time in your week, irrespective of your community. And so for folks who might be upset with me for saying it that way, call or text me and we'll talk about it. But my job is to do my best to inspire everybody to get involved in this process of taking back our country from these craven fools. We're going to go to a break. 773-763-9278. When we come back, we'll be blessed to have one of the other voices out there who's in this fight, none other than Gay Valimont. We'll be right back.
Thanks to our loyal WCPT listeners, the WCPT 20th anniversary broadcast is officially sold out. But you can still enjoy the broadcast by listening to WCPT Radio on Saturday, May 3rd from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Hosted by Hal Sparks, and he'll be joined by WCPT hosts Richard Chu, Joan Esposito, Patty Vasquez, and Scott Duff. Surprise guests from WCPT's 20-year history will also join us. Scroll through 20 years of WCPT Radio with legendary interviews, shows, and pictures on the WCPT 820 website. WCPT's live broadcast is sponsored by Max and Benny's Restaurant in Northbrook, Fazio Insurance, Smart 265, and Southland Friends of Labor. It's the WCPT 20th anniversary live broadcast Saturday, May 3rd from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Only on WCPT 820, Chicago's only progressive talk radio station for 20 years. This is a WCPT 820 Heartland Signal News Minute.
We all should be talking about a government that's more efficient, more effective, delivering for the people. And that's what I'm focused on. So I know some people here, I assume, are saying whatever you do, don't do anything to cooperate with Republicans or Trump.
On March 19th, in a town hall meeting at College of Lake County in Illinois, Congressman Brad Schneider reminded his constituents of the bipartisan legislation he is working towards with Republicans.
I hear you, but I'll also tell you I'm part of a bipartisan SALT caucus. I'll tell you I'm also working with Republican colleagues to address the pharmaceutical management, benefit managers, the PBMs. We're working to trying to bring down the cost of medications for all Americans. So where there is an opportunity to do good things, I intend to do that.
For WCPT 820 and Heartland Signal, I'm Paul Shamari.
From office supplies to IT essentials, Amazon Business provides tools that help you save costs and make insight-based decisions. Learn how to bring your visions to life at AmazonBusiness.com.
AP News. Good morning, I'm Ed Donahue. Officials say 6 people died, 9 others injured after a tourist submarine sank in a popular Egyptian Red Sea destination. Emergency crews were able to rescue 29 people. The submarine was sailing off one of the beaches in the tourist promenade area. It had carried 45 tourists of various nationalities. It's not clear yet why the submarine sank. President Trump is imposing new tariffs. He said it over and over again.
To me, the most beautiful word in the dictionary is tariff.
The president is placing 25% tariffs on auto imports.
Tariff is most certainly not a beautiful word.
David Bailey is business professor at Britain's Birmingham Business School.
It adds to extra cost, and in the long run, everybody loses out, essentially, including, by the way, U.S. consumers, who will ultimately face high prices.
Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney says the auto tariffs are a direct attack on his country. The Trump administration is struggling to stem the fallout from revelations top national security officials discussed sensitive attack plans over a messaging app and mistakenly added a journalist to the chain.
Look, it's all a witch hunt. I don't know that Signal works. I think Signal could be defective, to be honest with you.
The White House says the information shared through the Signal app with Jeffrey Goldberg, editor of The Atlantic, was not classified. An assertion Democrats say strains credibility. Joaquin Castro is a Democratic congressman from Texas.
The idea that this information, if it was presented to our committee, would not be classified, y'all know is a lie. That's ridiculous.
Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem visited a high-security El Salvador prison where Venezuelans, who the Trump administration allege are gang members, have been held since their removal from the U.S. The Secret Service says a child slipped through fencing outside the White House and was intercepted by officers. The child was reunited with their parents. This is AP News. President Trump paid tribute to women during Women's History Month. More from the AP's Marcela Sanchez.
You have a lot of them in this room politically, but just the fact that you're here and the fact that you're with us is so important.
Trump recognized the women on his cabinet and described them as the strongest women. About Attorney General Pam Bondi.
This is a beautiful, strong, wonderful woman.
And White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles.
She was just named as, and it's true, the most powerful woman in the world.
The president also spoke about historical women like Harriet Tubman, Amelia Earhart, and Susan B. Anthony. He honored their courage, patriotism, and devotion to their country. Finally, he thanked the women in the audience for their vote.
You were very nice to me. The women, we set every record. We loved it.
I'm Marcela Sanchez.
And I'm Ed Donahue, AP News.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see a few spotty rain showers here early today. Otherwise, partial sunshine develops with a high in the mid-50s. Southwest winds around 5 to 10 miles per hour, gusting as high as 20. Tonight, a chance for some showers and thunderstorms here late. Cloudy, a low near 48. Friday, a chance for showers and storms early. Skies become mostly sunny, a high around 78 degrees. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 45.
Hey, progressives, this is Richard Chu, host of Chu's Views here on WCPT AM 820, 6 to 8 a.m. Monday through Friday. We have some real challenges in front of us as a country. Since the beginning of this show, I have always felt compelled to bring you the best that I've got. Now, there's always a why to doing whatever we do. So, as we go forward and face these challenges, know this, you listeners are my why. Because I want to make sure I do everything I can to provide a safe, open, forward-moving space that allows you to call, email, text, or just listen to a guy that wants to help you bring out your own championship qualities to truly make this place better for us all. Lofty goal, idealistic, maybe so. But that's my why, and I look forward to bringing you the best that I've got. This is Richard Chu. Stay tuned.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
Welcome back to Chu's Views with Richard Chu on WCPT 820 AM, where facts matter. Take it away, Richard.
Hey, progressives, welcome back to Chu's Views and WCPT 773-763-9278. It's great to have Cliff Cash with us in the previous segment. Check him out, folks. Please check out Cliff. He's one of those voices that's out there. We have another voice, and I've been just talking about this woman for the last weeks and months and excited about what she's doing. And I could go on and on and on, and I'm going to try not to do that. But a mother, a gun violence prevention activist, a trainer, Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America, the list goes on. She's a fighter, and she's also our candidate in America for U.S. House Florida District 1, none other than Gay Valimont. Good morning, ma'am, and welcome to Chu's Views.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
You are welcome. Listen, I'll start off by saying thank you for being with us, and thank you for taking the time this morning. We are very, very excited about you being with us today, and listeners all over the country, introducing them to you and you to them. But we are just so excited about what you're doing in this race, and I've been saying this for weeks now, that we've got to get behind you and the other two seats there, the one in Florida in the 6th District, and then the one up in New York. I think it's the 23rd. That's the former seat of Elise Stefanik.
Stefanik, yes.
That is the game changer that it will be. If we get one, if we get two, but if we get all three, it changes the world, literally. It's not. That's not hyperbolic. Am I crazy in saying that?
No, that's 100% right. And even two seats could change things dramatically. It's huge.
Well, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us a little bit about your campaign. What's going on? I know listeners all over the country want to hear what's happening and what you're working on. What's driving you right now?
Oh, yeah. So our campaign is going really well. I ran against Matt Gaetz in the first election, right? So we knew that I was probably not going to win, but we also knew that he was going to be expelled from Congress or he would have to resign, either one. And so we were prepared, we were prepared for a special election. We just didn't know it was going to be 8 days later. So we were ready to go. By the time the special election started, we were a well-oiled machine, and so we've been rolling ever since. A little bit about me. You're right, I'm an athletic trainer. I work in sports medicine. That means I'm I'm the person that runs out on the football field when somebody gets hurt. I tape the ankles, do the rehab, all that stuff. And through that work, I worked at predominantly black schools in downtown Atlanta, and I, realized that black men and boys had to live differently because of gun violence than their counterparts 20, yards up the street. So I got involved in gun violence prevention. I became the leader of Moms Demand Action for the state of Florida. I grew our membership from 12 local groups throughout Florida to 32. We are a staple still in the State House, fighting every bad gun bill from stand your ground to permitless carry. And I turned that experience into into learning how to legislate and how important it is to change things from within. And during all of that, my 44-year-old husband, in 2020, the height of COVID, was diagnosed with ALS. And as we were trying to figure out how I was going to raise our 8-year-old son alone, because ALS is a 100% fatal disease, my 8-year-old fell down at school and couldn't regain his balance. 10 hours later, we were life-flighted to Miami, to Nicholas Children's Hospital, where I was put in a conference room and told that my 8-year-old son had a terminal brain tumor. And I was there, my husband and my son's full-time caregiver, until each of them took their last breath. And my son's been gone 3 years, and in April, my husband will have been gone 3 years. So after my family was gone and I was sitting in grief, which I will do every day for the rest of my life, I got an alert on my phone that said Matt Gaetz had filed a federal stand your ground bill, and somewhere in my gut, it just turned to fire and I stood up and said, there is nobody better to fight him on this particular issue, and I'm going to run for Congress, and I have, and so that's where we are now. I'm excited because I get to make change. I'm excited because the tides are turning here. I'm excited because we've raised enough money to get our message out, and we have a really good shot of winning this race.
Well, I'm just gonna call you Gay to simplify this. No disrespect at all.
Oh yeah.
But Gay, I am so proud of you. We all, in one way or another, experience loss through our lives. If we live long enough, we're going to.
Oh yeah.
And I applaud you, and I'm giving you a big old Chicago hug to let you know that we got you in that space. And I can tell you there are folks all over the country that took pause when you described what you've been challenged with in these last few years. But because you are a fighter, and because you believe in the strength of our country and what we all can do when we work together, that is one of the reasons why so many people have gotten behind you and decided that they wanted to support you. I want to touch on a little bit area where you have some expertise that is an area that we're failing dramatically right now, and that's our health system. You've got educational, you've got certification driven, you've got accreditation, you've got the degrees to understand how great we really are when our healthcare system is working and running smoothly. Talk a little bit about that and what you see we've got to be doing in that space.
Well, healthcare should be easy. I have experience in helping my athletes manage, their Medicaid when they have orthopedic problems. But then also with my family, we had great health care, but I was left with $100,000 worth of bills after my family was gone. I don't think that's right. I don't think that people should have to worry when their family is in crisis what they're going to owe at the end. Health insurance is probably the second or third highest bill every family pays every month, and it should be less expensive and it should be easy. Each company negotiates their prices with healthcare companies, and you have no idea what those prices are. I don't think that's right. I think that everything should pay out on one pay scale, because if you're a consumer, you wouldn't take your car in and say, hey, just fix it, I'll pay you whatever it is at the end, right?
Right.
And that's what we're doing with our bodies. And it shouldn't be that way, especially when you go in for an emergency or a sick loved one. You shouldn't come out broke. And so I want to tackle health care. I especially want to make sure that Medicaid is not only kept and funded, but expanded.
Yeah, and that's something that, if we don't do that, if we don't take care of not just the least among us, but take care of all of us. And I love how you first started by saying healthcare is simple. It's easy. It should be something that we don't have to spend so much time and resources figuring out. It doesn't need to be this complicated. But frankly, because of the insurance companies part in it, that has made it's getting worse and worse, not better and better.
Corporate greed.
Corporate greed. And frankly, selfishness by a lot of, let's just be honest, there's a lot of consumers and constituents that are selfish in this space because they don't want somebody else to get something that would be beneficial to them. When in fact, how short-sighted is that of you as an individual to not want your neighbors and your friends and family and colleagues to be healthy? Because if they are, it takes stress off of the entire system, which means it takes stress off of you. And so that's a part where I get sometimes frustrated with individuals, is that why wouldn't you want this for everybody so that everybody is in a better and healthier place? So, question on something.
I don't get it. I don't get it either. It is the party of pro-life, and we're not taking care of kids and their health care.
Yeah, pro-life.
We're taking away SNAP benefits from kids that can't eat during the summer. I don't understand the party of pro-life not taking care of the kids that are here.
The gentleman that we're going to have on after you, his name is Dan Summins. He's a managing director of a group called Blessings in a Backpack. And Dan is elbows deep in fighting against children going home hungry on the weekends. So his organization is just deeply immersed in making sure that that doesn't happen and that they have a direct impact on it. But it shouldn't be that way in the first doggone place. And
no, it shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be. I mean, we know that it is, but it shouldn't be because it doesn't have to be. And we've allowed it to be. And that's a whole nother conversation. And Dan and I will have that. But let me ask you a question about, right now there's chaos going on. And it's distracting. It's distracting so many people from the core issues. And the federal government is off the rails. There's no question. Let me put it this way: the administration is off the rails. And the gentleman that we had on prior to you, Cliff Cash, talks about the fact that it's by design. Project 2025, the Heritage Foundation, Russia, Turkey are all in our business. So you get elected. What are going to be some of the first things that you are going to be dealing with and working on when you get to Congress?
Well, based on what I hear, and I hear this every day, the cost of living is the first thing. But our district is made up of active duty military, retired military, veterans, and civil servants. Our district has particularly been affected. We have 20,000 federal employees who are on the chopping block, and when they lose their jobs, they're not going to be able to get another job here. They're going to have to move their family out of our district with their money. They're not going to be paying into our small businesses, our restaurants, our grocery stores, and it's going to affect our local economy. Now, our VA is at 140% capacity right now. We have the most veterans of any other district in Florida and second in the nation. We should be setting the standard here for our veterans and their health care, and we're not. So veteran health care, veterans right now is number one. And Social Security. We have so many retired people in this district who live off of Social Security. And the Commerce Secretary the other day making the statement about his mother-in-law missing a check, and she would be fine. She wouldn't even call. But it's the people who call who are chasing those checks that are, wrong.
They're the culprits.
It just is, yeah. It is outrageous that these people have no idea how the rest of us live.
Yeah, I mean, Gay, that was that when I saw that, it was the proverbial. I wanted to throw something at the screen, and we played we played the clip and talked about it earlier in the week. And I specifically wanted to lean into the fact that is such a privilege. You talk about this. This is the contrast that so many people either fail to see or just are willfully ignorant and not seeing. So much of the time, the Democratic Party has just been, they're not talking to the middle class, they're not talking to working class people, everyday people, the privileged left, the elite left. But this dude is a billionaire and made such a disgustingly awful, hurtful comment about folks who need Social Security, that if they missed a check, that the fact that they would reach out to get some help, that they were the culprits. And that to me was the epitome of privileged, frankly, coming from a rich white dude in America, talking about the other folks out there would be the ones who are the problem when his mother-in-law wouldn't peep about it. First of all, no disrespect, but disrespect, we don't give a darn about your mother-in-law. We care about the veteran. She's fine. We care about the folks that are in District 1 that would be impacted by that missed check. Not if it were missed for a month, if it were missed for a day, because so much of what they live on is day-to-day stuff. So
including my mother, and they cannot imagine that $900 a month would change somebody's life. But absolutely, it's unfathomable that these are the people that are running our government that don't understand the struggles of everyday people.
Yeah, and one of the things that I had said is, that much of his ascent has been through the financial group Cantor Fitzgerald, and much of the dollars that they manage are through retirement plans that are pension-driven plans, and many of the people that contribute post retirement to those funds, some of that money comes from their Social Security benefits. And so it was just like, talk about being disconnected and privileged, but we get tagged with being disconnected and disconnected because we don't spoon feed every message to every person that is just being, willfully ignorant or arrogant in some ways.
Right.
So I wanted to ask you another question as you and I rant on about how frustrated we are with what the Republicans are doing. Are you, when you look at this race, and I know it's a tough race, and I know the people that are around you, you get the data, you get the information and all that. Are you finding, are you seeing, are you hearing from the constituents in that district that they are ready for a change?
Absolutely. Even Republicans, I'm hearing from so many people, a lot of federal employees, a lot of military who are fed up with wondering if they're going to, are they paying $35 for insulin or not? Whether they're going to get some relief on their college loans or not. People are fed up. People are fed up with everything that's going on. This shock and awe of the dismantling of our government is freaking people out. And these are people that are 55, 60, 65 getting ready to retire. And they're like, what is happening? And what I'm telling them is that we have the opportunity in this district, while everybody around the country is protesting, and rightly so. People should be just as loud as they can. In this district, we have recourse. We can stop this in its tracks. And so everybody has to show up, and we can't be lazy. Special elections don't have probably 23 to 30% of the electorate will show up. That's typical. We are hoping to way overperform. We are hoping that, and we have good data that tells us we will overperform with Republicans, and so I'm excited about that. And I think that comes from 19 months of having conversations with people, Republicans, Democrats, and independents alike, and talking to them like real people. Yeah. I'm not a politician. I'm a normal person just like them. I pay my bills here. I pay my homeowner's insurance here. I know how everybody's struggling. So I hope that resonates with people. I'm just like them. I'm not a career politician.
Yeah. You know, Gay, I appreciate you saying it that way, because folks all over the country that listen to our broadcast need to hear it. So as we wrap up, and I tell you, I wish we could have gotten, I know you've been busy as you know what, but I wish we could have gotten to you sooner, but I'm thankful that we've gotten to you today. And with this last push, with the election coming up next week, can you let folks know how to find you, how to be a supporter of your efforts in these last few days?
Oh, absolutely. You can go to Gay for Congress, that's FORGAYFOR, Congress.com, and it's easy to remember because you can't say gay in Florida, so it's Gay for Congress. Get it? Yeah. And, join us. Make phone calls. We're on the last sprint. We are chasing ballots at this point, and help us make phone calls. And if you can't do anything else, throw us a couple bucks to finish out these last couple days. My opponent is the CFO of Florida. He has endless money that he has not spent, but now he's starting to realize that he better start doing something. So there are 2 attack ads out on me. So that's the first time a Republican has put an attack ad out on a Democrat on the panhandle of Florida. So I'm going to take it as a compliment.
That's right. Gay Valimont, y'all, we're so honored to have you with us. We are sending you a big Chicago hug to let you know that we've got you. And we will.
I love Chicago. Yay.
Yes, that's right. Thank you so much for being with us. We're sending you all the energy and strength that we can to get you across this finish line. So thank you for being with us this morning. And once you win, fingers crossed, we'll have you back and we'll have a nice, cheerful party.
I will be back on.
Absolutely.
Yes. Thank you so much. Y'all have a great day.
You too, Gay. Thanks for being with us. Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so there's parts of me I don't know what to do, Henry. I'm full up with emotions right now, and I want you guys to feel them. And the reason I say that is we're so close. And if we all who are listening to this broadcast anywhere, anyhow, can lean in and try to give a little bit of support to her, you don't know what it might do. And as she said, if we just get one of the 3, it gets us that much closer. If we got 2 of the 3, we haven't been able to get on the candidates that are in the other 2 districts that are running. But if we were to pull it off, guys, do you realize what it changes the things that Cliff Cash is doing? It changes the things that our guests coming on, like Dan Summins from Blessings in a Backpack, are doing. It allows us to reset. That's how important this is. And so, like I've told you guys, I'm going to do everything I can now and ongoing to fight this fight. And that's what she is doing right there on the ground. And with the background and the pain that this woman has endured, y'all need to help her out. I can't put it any more plain than that. I mean, she's a fighter, Henry. I saw Henry take a pause when she described what happened to her husband and to her son. So let's do what we can to support Gay Valimont for the 1st District in Florida and get that congressional seat back in the right column. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have our good friend Dan Summins from Blessings in a Backpack, the special guest this morning as well. The number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
Martin McManaman, Wayne Township Highway Commissioner, has served the communities and unincorporated areas of Wayne Township very successfully for the past 12 years. As a matter of fact, he's the first Democrat elected into township government in DuPage County. Martin is running for re-election as Wayne Township Highway Commissioner and wants your vote on April 1st. Martin is a union road builder with 35 years of experience and the only highway commissioner in DuPage with any road building experience. He cut taxes in 2019 and froze them in 2020 and 2021. 2024. Top accomplishments include new methods of road building and de-icing, saving taxpayer dollars and being environmentally responsible. Also, creating the first township-wide bike plan in Illinois. As chair of the Wayne Township Democrats the last 5 years, Martin McManaman helps Democrats get elected in DuPage County. Make sure you vote for Martin McManaman for Wayne Township Highway Commissioner and Christy Ann Lewis as Township Trustee on April 1st. Your vote counts.
Paid for by citizens for Martin McManaman.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see a few spotty rain showers here early today. Otherwise, partial sunshine develops with a high in the mid-50s. Southwest winds are on 5 to 10 miles per hour, gusting as high as 20. Tonight, a chance for some showers and thunderstorms here late. Cloudy, a low near 48. Friday, a chance for showers and storms early. Skies become mostly sunny, a high around 78 degrees. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 45.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
You're listening to Choose View with Richard Chu on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey, Progressives, welcome back to Choose View, 773-763-9278. I want to give an additional shout out to Cliff Cash. Let me explain why. When we schedule folks on the show, we're blessed to have everybody. We're thankful to have folks on our show and do the best we can to push what they're working on, to push their agenda, to challenge them, all the rest. And Cliff was scheduled at 7 o'clock. And I reached out to him and I said, Cliff, we were able to get Gay Valimont on at 7, and that's the only time she has today. Would you be willing to come on at 6:30? And he said, absolutely. That's another reason why you want to get behind that dude. He made a change in his schedule so that we could get Gay on this morning. And now we've been blessed to have them, both of them on, and we can just, kind of roll right with it to our good friend Dan Summins from Blessings in a Backpack. Good morning, Dan, and welcome to the show.
Good morning, Richard. Thanks for having us back on.
Absolutely. And with that, guys, if you guys remember, Blessings in a Backpack is this one of those organizations that I say so often, sleeves rolled up, elbows deep, into making sure that our children don't go home hungry on the weekends. That's the simplest, most concise way I can talk about. They do so much more, but we start there. And that's a great point to start at as it relates to the importance of all of our children, whether you have kids or not. They're our children. And this is the epitome and the essence of it takes a village. And with that, organizations sometimes can't get along and go forward without having just amazing volunteers to be a part of the process and help to make sure that we have successful organizations like Blessings. So Dan, take a moment and introduce our guest that's been part of the organization, and you can take it away from there.
Well, sure. So first of all, I want to say Blessings depends on more than 1,400 volunteers every year to pack bags of food, deliver food, make sure the kids who need it get it. So we have a very small staff. There's just 2 of us, and we're covering 96 locations, 6,000 kids every Friday, and it's just not possible without an awesome a group of volunteers. And I want to introduce Heidi Wagman. Heidi has been one of the original Blessings volunteers in Chicago. She's been volunteering for 15 years. She works out of the Chicago Sinai Temple. She has a great team there. And I'll tell you a story about Heidi. During COVID, she continued to run our program out of her own garage and backyard. She's just so committed, such a great person and great volunteer. I just want to welcome Heidi to the show.
Hey, Heidi, welcome to the show.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
You've been volunteering with Blessings for a long time, 10 plus years. Is that right? 15 years?
Yeah, it's something. Dan and I were trying to figure it out yesterday. It's at least 15 years, and frankly, it might be longer. I feel like I've been doing it, I raised my kids during the entire time I was doing the Blessings in a Backpack program.
So Heidi, tell us a little bit about your background. Tell us a little bit about yourself. And I'm definitely going to come at you about what you did during COVID. But tell us who Heidi is and a little bit about your background.
Oh, thank you. So I'm actually a retired lawyer. I retired a long time ago. And I've been involved with my temple, Chicago Sinai congregation. And at Chicago Sinai congregation, one of the things we've tried to do is we do social action to try to make Chicago a better place. And we're very focused on education and on poverty. And we were involved in the schools doing things like serving as classroom aides and funding field trips and doing a lot of other things. But we were recognizing that our kids that we were helping during the school day were coming to school hungry. And so one of the things that we felt was kind of a gap in what we were doing is trying to take care of them when they're not in school. And we got introduced to Blessings in a Backpack. And so I headed up the first program through our temple in one school, and now we're in 4 schools, and I'm happy to tell you more about that. But me personally, I was really motivated when I saw kids doing the best they could, but they were coming to school not at their best because they'd had rough weekends.
Yeah, and it's Fridays and Mondays, going home and coming back. We all know as grown folks now that we're excited about the weekend so we can recharge and all that. And when Sunday at 6 hits, we're all thinking about what we've got to get going on for the next week. So imagine as a child to have those fears of going home and knowing the next 2 days you might not have anything to eat of any substance. And then Sunday comes and you know you're getting ready for school and you're worried about being able to get ready for school and have something in your stomach. I think it's that literal. And correct me if I'm wrong. It's literally that in those children's faces, and you guys are leaning in to affect that. And that's, I'm just, every time I talk with Dan about this, and I'm so thankful that we were able to have him be a part of our conversation. Heidi, tell us a little bit about this COVID thing. I mean, in the garage and in your backyard. Let's talk about that for a minute.
I am so excited to talk about this because I have photos. It's so funny. So we were originally we were actually physically packing in the school, and of course, when the schools closed, we knew our kids still needed food. So we came up with this idea. I'm fortunate living in Chicago to have a yard, and we basically once a week turned my yard into a packing station. We had, tables set up in different places because we were still mindful. This was so early on. We were wearing masks. We were unvaccinated. We, separated ourselves. Literally, sometimes each of us would have our own station. We would pack the food. We would load it into my garage, and we would drop it off. We arranged with a couple different schools that were they were pickup sites for breakfast and lunch during COVID. When the schools were closed, you could come to the school and pick up breakfast and lunch. So we sort of tacked our program on there on Fridays, and we would say, when you give them breakfast and lunch, also give them one of our bags. And we were able to get a grant through the Blessings organization, so we actually expanded our program. So in some weeks, we were actually able to feed as many as 1,000 kids. It was pretty astonishing. We had delivery sites all over the city. We just would tack ourselves onto other programs. But we physically packed in my yard, I want to say, for about a year. In fact, it was kind of hard to give it up because we loved it, and we even packed in the snow. I mean, it was and I packed with mostly women. We're all in our 50s, 60s, and literally in our 70s, some of us. So, we're quite a team.
Well, obviously, I use this phrase a lot, but flowers and kudos to you for that effort. And I've said this on a number of occasions that those of us that are in the upper Midwest and colder states during COVID, I don't know how to say this and not sound crazy, but COVID started and changed our lives in 5 years ago about this time when the weather was changing here in the upper Midwest. And it softened the blow a little bit because we were able to be out and to do things. So I know that probably furthered your ability to be effective because the weather was changing. Spring was upon us, summer was upon us, and it allowed you to do a lot. But then to do it for a year, which means you had to go through that first winter of COVID, had to be something else.
Yeah, it was, and I don't think I mentioned, I'm actually from Florida originally, so the whole thing was a bit of a shock to my system. But I have a lot of hardy volunteers, and you know what? Actually, most of us were doing nothing else. So it was actually good for us as well. We knew we were doing good work, but it also really gave us a gift to be together, to know we were doing this together. We felt like, we had it was hopeful. It gave us something we could do that was positive.
Yeah, and it got you out of what could have been easily a silo, which so many people were. were in, understandably so. So you were an attorney, and you said, I'm moving in a different direction. What was the impetus behind that? What drove it, and what's been sustaining for you with that change?
With moving from being an attorney to focusing in on what I'm doing now.
Correct.
That part.
Yes.
So I was living in New York, and I enjoyed certain parts of being an attorney, but I think for me, I wasn't feeling really fulfilled. And so I think that for me, while I started doing this sort of as like a side thing that was just giving me some good feelings. First of all, there's so much to do that it just kept growing for me. So I really started as a classroom volunteer. And in each thing, that little more thing I did, I got sort of like better and bigger and more wonderful feelings. And I think that it really felt fulfilling to me. And then I had my children, and I felt like I was able to sort of set this example, and they helped me pack. I think it just sort of grew because of the feelings I got, and also because I knew the kids that we were helping. The longer I stayed in the program, we were kind of raising these kids. So we had our program's a little unique in the sense that because we were also in the classroom and feeding them on the weekend, and we lasted, again, this is the 15th year, I think we just sort of saw we were raising our kids along with their parents, and it was just so incredibly fulfilling.
Yeah.
So that's why I keep doing it.
So there's a phrase. Dan enlightened our audience with this a few weeks ago, that there really isn't a zip code in America that doesn't have a food crisis, particularly when it comes to our children. And one of the things that Dan has said often is that we've got wealthy neighborhoods with hungry children. Let's talk about your experience and observation of that, Heidi.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think a lot of times people are surprised at the fact that in certain schools in good neighborhoods that there are kids that are hungry, and the peers might not even know it. What's interesting about our program, there's one school where we're feeding only 10 kids. So everybody in the school, feels like, wow, this is a very, affluent school, but there's 10 kids that are hungry. In another school, we're feeding every single kid in the school. That's 280 kids in the school. And these are both schools on the near north side. These are not schools that are, in neighborhoods where you might think of as traditionally low income. These are neighborhoods where there's really lovely homes and apartment buildings, and there's kids that are hungry. And the school really helps us to identify those kids because we don't know who they are. So especially in that school where there's only 10 kids that are hungry, those 10 kids rely on our food. And we know that they do. And I think for us it's really interesting because when you look around, you think, how can there be people here that are hungry? And we, at our temple also, we have children that help us pack our food, and we sort of take that opportunity to say, in your school, there are kids that are hungry. You may not know who they are, but they're there.
Yeah, and that's part of the challenge sometimes is that there's a little bit of blindness to this issue. And because of that, people then not only do they not recognize it, Heidi and Dan, but they don't know what to do, almost kind of shocked into paralyzation and not do anything at all. And this is where volunteering becomes so incredibly important. My question to all folks who volunteer and work in organizations is, what is it that you're most proud of for you individually and of the program that you represent?
Oh, such a great question. I think in our case, it's the longevity of our program. Because there's a lot of excitement. That first year that we started our program, we funded our entire year of feeding kids in like one event. But to be able to sustain that, because we're going back to the same people who are supporting our program financially, and our volunteers, they don't just do it for 1 year. We've had some people who volunteered for 15 years with us. So the fact that we're able to sustain it, it lets that school know and those kids know we're committed to you. We're part of, you can just count on us. We're here for you. And I think that has made us most proud over all the time that we've been doing the program.
What advice would you give or suggestions would you give to people that are newly volunteering with programs like this? What would be some of the tips and suggestions that you could provide?
Well, it's interesting. One of the things when we started our program that I was most concerned about is whether we would be able to fund it, because people love getting together and packing it. So I think if people are considering, for example, starting a program, you may worry like you might not be able to find the money for it. And I would say this, I fundraise for a lot of things in my life for other things I'm interested in. Nothing is easier than fundraising to feed children. It's just so universal and so core. And when you ask people for money for that, people are so happy to support it. So I would say don't be afraid of that piece. And then the volunteers, we have a problem. We actually have too many people who want to volunteer to pack with us because it gives people such a good feeling to be so hands-on. A lot of people in their lives aren't really doing things where they're just really in there with their hands doing things. And it is just shocking at how easy it is to both get people involved and to get people to support the program.
Well, it's better to have that than the other, which is we don't have enough volunteers or people that want to be involved in programs that are so important. Yeah. I received a text question, and I'll just give you the edited version of it, and that is this, both to you and to Dan. The program, in terms of Blessings in a Backpack, is so laser focused successfully on making sure that our children don't go home hungry on the weekends. And the question that was presented to me is, what about children's families and other, just plain and simple, what about children's families? Maybe their siblings, maybe their parents, for that matter, that are in that same household. How are you navigating that? How aware of it are you, et cetera?
I'll jump in here real quick.
You go ahead, Dan. I'll let you go.
Thanks. First of all, you are right. We are focused on that child in that classroom. But at the end of the year, we survey our kids. 2/3 of the children we survey tell us that they share that food with a sibling.
Wow.
So we know that we're extending that, and they're giving up. These are young people, sharing the what we're able to give them. We are aware that they're in difficult circumstances, but we have to really remain true to our mission and to our call to make sure that those kids are, when they come back, they're refreshed and refocused Monday morning. So that's really. You just can't be all things to all people, but the kids are so phenomenal. They're feeding their brothers and sisters.
Yeah. Heidi, what were you going to say about that?
Yeah, what I was going to say is also we feed every child in a family. So if there's 3 or 4 siblings, they're getting 3 or 4 bags of food. And we have a couple of cases where we do give an extra bag because we know there's a sibling who's either younger or older and the family's in great need. So we're able to expand it in that way, at least a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, and that was one of my questions was going to be: does it increase the volume of what you receive and then are able to distribute to that child and directly to the other family members that may be in that same stressful situation? So I appreciate the answers there. Heidi, what's on your dartboard right now? Some of the top things that you're concerned about and are working to solve.
We're having changing demographics of who we're feeding. Last year at our school, we were feeding, I think it was 40 children from refugee families that were living in a shelter, and we had to really tailor our foods because they had no access to a microwave. They might not even have hot water. In the last couple of weeks, we've seen that number diminish. Like really, I think there's almost none of them left at the school. So I think we're just constantly trying to pivot. We, at one school, odds and ends, we've been feeding their lower school, and they recently asked us if we could take on the middle school. So I think our demographics are changing, we're expanding, and in some areas, like the refugee families, we're diminishing. So just being like sort of nimble to be able to grow and meet changing needs as we see them.
Got it.
So,
Dan, what about you? What are some of the target things for you right now in these next few weeks? We're coming. We're kind of globally in the U.S. in spring break time. Different schools and school systems obviously do it differently. But what are some of your target items right now?
So right now we are focused on spring break, and so that means we've asked our volunteers to do just what Heidi has done in her group. Let's send the kids home with a couple extra bags. The thought that you're going to be away from school, a lot of kids might be excited. It's spring break, I'm traveling, it's fun. For some kids, it's frightening because they know there may not be adequate food at home. So we want to make sure we're asking our volunteers, let's send an extra bag or two home, make sure those kids have enough to sustain them, and let's make spring break really a break. Let's not punish them just because they're not able to get breakfast and lunch at school.
Yeah, good point, and good, I guess, sort of sight in terms of what you know is coming with spring break. Let's not punish them. That's a great phrase. We're going to wrap up, guys, and it's been great to have you both on. And Heidi, your energy is palpable. We can feel it in terms of what you've been doing for such a long time. And haven't met you, but I appreciate the hard work that you put in. And obviously, Dan, you taking the role that you do to make sure that our children are fed on the weekends. You both are. You got that special seat, as they say, down the road. But we appreciate you being with us. How can folks find? Oh, you're welcome. No, Heidi? We'll let you go first, and then Dan, you can wrap it up. Heidi, how can folks find you and find their way to get involved in your part of this process?
So our Blessings in a Backpack program is run through my temple, which is the Chicago Sinai Congregation. So on our website, that's sort of how you get into our program. But you also can just go in through Blessings in a Backpack. I know Dan will talk a bit about that.
Yeah, Dan.
So thank you.
Absolutely, Heidi, and thank you for your hard work and just your energy. It's great. We really appreciate it having you on today. Dan, one more time to let folks know how they can get involved and find Blessings in a Backpack.
Sure. So Heidi mentioned that great feeling about filling a bag full of food for a young person. We've got a really great special event coming up April 10th called The Race to Feed Chicago. It's a team competitive backpack event where we're going to put teams together 8 in a bracket-style event, and first team to 100 wins and moves forward. So if you're interested in a great experience, if you don't have a team, sign up at www.chicago.blessingabackpack.org, and we'll get you on a team. It's a super fun event, very casual. Dinner is included, and you'll be in a crowd of 150 people that share that same mission, same desire to feed young people. The Race to Feed Chicago, April 10th, right here in Chicago.
Absolutely. Heidi and Dan, thank you for being with us. Thank you for your hard work, and we really appreciate you taking the time out this morning. So we'll keep talking about Blessings in a Backpack, have you guys back on in a month or so, and keep moving this effort forward. But for now, you guys have a great rest of the day and a good weekend. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for having
Richard.
us on.
Take care.
All right. Bye
Bye-bye.
now. Bye now. Bye-bye. There you go, guys. That's what we do. That's what we do. That's what we lean into as progressive liberal Democrats. That's what we do. It's just good folk. And, Dan and Blessings in a Backpack do such great work, and the organization nationally is doing such great work. Get involved. The Race to Feed Chicago, April 10th. Reach out to Blessings, and they'll get you hooked up with being involved in the event. And it'll probably be a lot of fun for folks and meet some new people. And you might find somebody that is active in some other areas that you can get involved in as well. So we want to make sure you guys can take part in that. Interesting show today, Henry. We've had some folks that are very passionate about what they do, from the folks at Blessing and Sinai to Gay Valimont running down in Florida, and most definitely our friend Cliff Cash and his passion for what he's doing and getting that message out. And in one way or the other, they all said a similar thing, and that's to get involved. Okay? Blessings, obviously, with the volunteer work. Get involved. None of us knows if that child is the next rocket scientist, next heart surgeon, as Malcolm X used to say. We don't know who that next brilliant person is, that next brilliant child, and what they will turn out to be. So get involved as best you can. Gay Valmont could use some help, phone calls, whatever it is. Call them up and say, what can I do to help in these last few days? And then if it means, throwing a few dollars at her campaign, I've seen texts from you guys, and thank you for that. Those of you who've already said you're sending money to her, I can't even tell you how thankful I am for you getting involved. And then, like Cliff Cash said, if we want to protect and save our democracy, we don't have I mean, these are my words. We don't have the luxury to sit back and not do anything. We have to get up and fight. And reach out to Cliff. You can find him on all the socials and the work that he's doing. He's doing huge work, guys. I can't even tell you. And he'll make you laugh, and he'll make it okay while you're watching some of his stuff to curse. Because this particular video or the segment of a video that I spoke about, watch the whole 20 minutes. But particularly the part where this heckler decided that they lost their mind, Henry, and they were going to go after a comedian that had a megaphone. I just thought, that's who MAGA is, though. They just don't get it. You know, that willful ignorance and arrogance. Oh, I can say what I want to say. And Cliff lays him out. I mean, not physically, but with his comedic intellect and prowess. He lays this dude out. And not with a bunch of words, just a few words. So it's epic. Check that out. Check out Cliff. And then I also want to give some serious shout outs to our congressional leaders. We say this often. It's part of my mantra in some ways. We can be critical, but we also have to be complimentary and push them forward. And we, like Cliff said, we've got to do work too, y'all. We do. But shout out to Representative Kazar for calling out this insanity with how DOGE is impacting Sesame Street. Shout out to Congressman Jason Crow for calling out this ineptitude of our national security apparatus people with this crazy situation that we all just watched in front of us. And shout out to Representative Melanie Stansbury for calling out the misdirection and the time wasting of the Republican Party in the House of Representatives right now when it comes to what really matters or should matter. And at the same time, they're not calling out this cover-up. So let those representatives know that you got their back. Kazar, Crow, and Stansbury. Google them, call them, ask what can we do to help. This is one of the steps, but it's a major step or a piece of how we take our country back from these fools, these craven fools. And I implore you guys to hear those words. And like Cliff said, you know, now is not the time to sit back and think everything is okay. Take your head out of the sand and get involved. And of course, like I've said so many times, take a deep breath and make your life count. We will see you tomorrow.
This is a WCPT Veteran Minute. During the Civil War, 11% of the Confederate Army was made up of enslaved men forced to join. One of these men was Robert Smalls. Smalls was a deckhand on the Confederate supply ship known as the Planter. During his time, Smalls learned as much as he could about navigating the ship so he and others could escape. And on May 13th of 1862, while officers were sleeping, Smalls, along with 16 others, took the Planter out of the Charleston harbor, navigating through all 5 checkpoints while heading to open waters